It's Friday and it's happy hour. And what better way to spend happy hour than to take a trip to the D and give a little TKO? If you know, you know. But if you don't, you'll find out shortly. It's the Flex Zone podcast. We don't stop. We keep grinding. It's Friday night. Yes, we got SmackDown coming up. But we got a big show coming up in St. Louis tomorrow. Backlash. One last time. John Cena and Randy Orton. We'll talk about it. What are the hottest topics in WWE? We're going to knock some of those out. And why is AEW ice cold? We got a new perspective coming into the Flex Zone building. You guys know the drill. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit that bell. Make sure you guys give it a nice RKO. And let's get ready for a big, fun-filled wrestling weekend right here on the Flex Zone. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy hour is taking place right here on the Flex Zone podcast. Wherever you're at, thank you for joining us on this special TKO edition of the Flex Zone podcast. We got Backlash coming up, as you can see from the backdrop behind me. But joining me today, we got a very illustrious guest, but you guys know the drill. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell. We want to hear from you in the comment section. Backlash, AEW, we got a poll up. Vote on that. Let us know your thoughts. But I've been teasing it for a while. We've been talking, we've been communicating. I know I'm getting on his nerves, but he's joining me today. He has a wonderful YouTube channel, which you can check out at Billy TKO. It's pinned in the comments section in YouTube. So go head over there before I do anything else. Click that link. You're going to love what you see. Great discussion, great content as well. He is Billy TKO, Detroit's finest, and he's got some love for professional wrestling like we do here on the Flex Zone podcast. And he's finally joining us to spit that gospel and talk a little wrestling. Put your hands together. Make some noise in the chat for the one, the only, Detroit's finest, Billy TKO. Billy, what's up, my brother? Finally here.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. What a wow. Wow.
Billy, what's up, man?
Brother, what an introduction. Jeez. Woo.
We do what we can, man. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. How are you feeling, bro?
I'm even better now. Like I told you when we doing the sound check, talking to you, man. I want to get straight into it. I know you're a busy man. Let the people know who you are, how they can keep up with you, and just all the great things you got going on.
So my name is Billy TKO. For those who maybe don't know, guys, I am a wrestling YouTuber. I talk all WWE, AEW, all kinds of wrestling, and I've been doing this for quite some time now. You know, if you guys want, you can find me on TikTok. You can also find me on YouTube, both at Billy TKO. Those are the two platforms I'm most active on. So if you guys want, definitely go over there. But yeah, man, you know, we're working hard. Obviously, you know, been doing the Backlash stuff, getting prepared for Backlash. We're doing a bunch of watch alongs, man. I mean, I'm live, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Friday. So I'm live for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, the whole nine. I'm working, man. I'm grinding, and I love what you guys are doing, man. This is absolutely outstanding.
Thank you, man. I can't thank you enough for being here and talking wrestling with the Flex Zone podcast. A big shout out to Ango too. We see you, Ango. Shout out to Ango from the Ango Show. We're working on him as well. Yeah, we're gonna make that happen as well. Shout out to Ango.
Maybe I can get in contact with him for you guys.
He hit me back. He said he was busy. I said, I know you're a busy man. He was like, hey man, I'd love to. So
he is a busy man, but that's my guy, man. So I'll definitely talk to him.
Appreciate that, man. But Billy, let's get to it, man. We know you know wrestling. We love your insight and analysis. How are you feeling, man? The Cena heel turn happened, and then Mania happened. Let us know how you feel about how that played out. I thought night 2 was better than night 1. I thought the night 1 triple threat was fantastic, though. Jacob Fatu was fantastic. Night 2 had the women's triple threat, and the main event kind of was a dud. But up until then, we had a really good show. How'd you feel about the heel turn with Cena leading to the whole WrestleMania fiasco and no Rock?
So, I mean, I'm no different than anybody else, right? I mean, I was a huge fan of the Cena heel turn initially. I thought it was a great idea. Um, Me personally, though, I was kind of always against the Cena heel turn, knowing that it's his last year. You know what I mean? He didn't necessarily need to do this, but he obviously did it for the love of the game. He loves it, no different than you and I, right? So initially, I was very excited about this heel turn. I said, "Oh my God, we're gonna see it." You know what I mean? Then we get to WrestleMania, obviously, and we get what we get. You know, we get Travis Scott. We have no answer of The Rock. Again, no different feeling than the rest of the IWC, right? It was very much like, hey, like, what is this? What are we doing? Why is this the route that we're taking? Why is there no Rock? Why is because at that point I felt as if we didn't even need Travis Scott. If we weren't going to bring out The Rock, we truly didn't need Travis Scott. I thought it was underwhelming is the word that me and Ango have used kind of on, just going forward and whatnot. So underwhelming for sure. And now, Ango and I actually just talked about it the other day, yesterday, actually, what do we expect, coming out of Backlash? And, I genuinely wonder if, WWE has seen like, hey, The Rock's not going to play any part in this. Like maybe we should just drop it. Maybe we should let it go. Maybe we can move forward with something else. Maybe give Randy the belt. Let Randy go tell that story with Cody Rhodes, and let that be the thing going into the summer. I don't personally think that's going to be what they do. I think they'll obviously keep the belt on Cena, but I do question and I do wonder if WWE has seen our backlash, no pun intended, and gave it some thought of being like, okay, maybe this wasn't the direction that we should have went, especially not knowing for certain about The Rock.
How did you feel coming out of Mania?
Mhm.
We got the Dangerous Alliance, Seth Rollins,
Okay.
Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker. I call him the tan line. That was my little quirk.
Oh
Um,
Lord,
I mean, the bronzer was going heavy, Billy. But
man.
how do you how do you feel about the alliance, man? We got I think a lot of us speculated we were going to get Seth winning and Paul Heyman possibly aligning with him. Maybe it would have led to something bigger. But
Hmm.
what do you think about this group? And is there a third man? Because it seems like we've all been throwing names about who should join this
Hmm.
alliance. And even after Monday, it looks like it's going to be Punk, Jay Uso,
Hmm.
and Sammy going
Hmm.
against this dangerous alliance. So who will join them and how do you feel about them so far?
So, okay, I guess I'll give you my initial thoughts right away. I'm gonna plug me and Ango for a second. We were obviously it went viral later on, but Ango and I we were talking about Seth, potentially joining Paul Heyman way back in February. Got to give Ango his flowers, man. That guy, he really, on our show we just we fantasy book, and then some things come true, some things don't, and then obviously that was one thing that just so happened to come true. So it was kind of funny that this was a conversation that we had way before people even necessarily thought about it. But my thoughts about it is I love it, right? I am one thing people should know about me is I'm like a big CM Punk guy. So that main event, it meant a lot to me. I loved it. But their group and what happened at WrestleMania, it made for different, right? WWE has kind of been on this line of like some things stick, some things don't. This was one of those things that you knew automatically was going to stick. It was going to fit. It was going to work. Now we go into the Monday Night Raw after, and you bring in Braun Breaker. Or was it? It wasn't the night after, or I can't
It
remember.
was the night after because that's when Roman
Okay,
came out
okay,
and then they
yes,
speared him.
right,
Had the hoodie
okay.
on.
Right. So the night after we get Braun Breaker, and it's like, man, like people have questioned, like where is Braun Breaker gonna go? How does he fit into this? Where does he fit essentially? And like for me, it was always like, we talk about Seth and Paul. Forget that conversation. The real conversation is Paul and Braun, right? Because Seth doesn't necessarily need Paul Heyman. It's just an added fit. You know what I mean? But Braun needs Paul. So I I tend to take it back to like evolution, right? People hate that I discuss evolution so much in this faction, but it reminds me so much of it. I think in its own ways. I believe that Braun Breaker is going to be the breakout guy here. He's obviously going to be the guy going forward. We've kind of been, now to answer your question about like, who the next member could potentially be. There's been numerous names that people have thrown around, right? Who makes sense in this line? I know people had talked about potentially Austin Theory, right? I know people had potentially talked about like Drew McIntyre or, just numerous names. And I just always bring it back to Evolution, right? My thought process on who the third member could be, and this is such a steep thought, is definitely like Ludwig Kaiser, for instance. I think Ludwig, and again, I get it, guys. It's
I'm a
probably
big
a wide.
Ludwig guy, by the way. I'm a big
I'm
Ludwig guy.
bro.
I'm mad as hell with what they're doing to him, Billy. It's
I
ridiculous.
know, and that's why I get into this discussion of like why he could be and fit that mold of that guy. Because if you see what's happening with Austin Theory, it's like, okay, well, Austin Theory isn't necessarily, he's going to be a baby face and he'll ride that wave. You know what I mean? Because of him and Grayson Waller. If you look at a guy like Drew McIntyre doesn't need this. He's fine. You know what I mean? He'll be completely fine after this. A guy like Ludwig, who really has nothing going on or nothing to look forward to, is one of those guys that I think you can just like strap the rocket to. He could, again, I talk about evolution because you need the Randy Orton of the group, right? He could easily be the Randy Orton of that group. And I think he fits the mold. He can get them heat. Another person that I talked about, and like my real number one prediction, is Logan Paul. Logan Paul, if you want to get booed, if you want to talk about where the business is going, if you want to talk about where the business is heading, it is heading in the direction of guys like Logan Paul. And if you need, because obviously Seth Rollins is going out there and he's still getting cheered. He's still, the architect. He's Monday Night Rollins. You know what I mean? But if you want these guys to look like real, can I cuss on here?
Say whatever the fuck you want, Billy.
All right, cool. If you want him to look like a real asshole, right? If you want him to look like a real asshole, you add Logan Paul to that group because he is such a shitty heel. He's got so much heat. So I've been dying on the hill of Logan Paul, but
I love Logan Paul too, personally.
So
I think
do
he's gonna
I,
be a
man.
world champion one day.
So do I. I definitely believe it, and I believe this is how you do it. If you want to, you put him with Paul Heyman, strap the rocket to him. Paul Heyman will get that guy more over than ever. You know what I'm saying? So in my heart of heart, I'm a believer of Logan Paul taking the reins on that one, man.
No, I agree, man. I wouldn't, I'm not saying it just to kiss your ass, but I like both men or piss off the masses. So I'm always that guy.
Yeah, dude. If you want to get some cheap ass heat, that is a beautiful way to do it.
Real quick, because I like the fantasy book too. I'm a geek.
Fantasy book,
fantasy
man.
book while I'm sitting at work. I think Monday was a precursor with Seth and Jey Uso. A lot of people are down on Jey Uso's championship reign, but you may have noticed this. You notice how they've kind of faded Roman out and they've pushed Jey Uso into the fold with them too. And then it looks like we're going to get possibly, I'm calling it, maybe others have. I think night one of SummerSlam will be Jey Uso and Seth Rollins again. And I think they had a really good match on Monday.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see that potentially being the case. I know that Ango and I, when we were talking yesterday, because we did our Backlash predictions, we talked about, because so many people were like, why aren't Logan and Jay on the Backlash card? They're going to save that for Saturday night's main event. Obviously, I don't think Logan Paul is going to win the world title here, but I think that's going to be your way to get him into the group with Seth Rollins, right? I think that's how you maneuver in that route, is you piss him off. And he needs these guys because he can't get over this hump, right? And he's a shitbag heel, so he could act like a scared, he could do that. So in that realm, you think we go into Money in the Bank, right? I don't know who you have win Money in the Bank.
I have Cody. That's my prediction. I have Cody.
So my prediction has been Sammy.
Okay.
Because I think Sammy is going to be the guy to actually take the World Heavyweight Championship from Jay. Because I do believe
picking up steam a lot.
Yes, exactly. But I don't hate your Cody Rhodes pick because I don't want John Cena to hold that belt past SummerSlam. But that's just me personally.
I
Um,
said Cody for the men and Naomi for the women. That's my 2 predictions.
Naomi needs to win it for the women, not to get off track here, but Naomi needs it for the women for sure. Um, in my eyes, though, I could definitely see Seth Rollins potentially being that person to take the belt off of him, and then maybe you just have Jay and Sammy feud 1-on-1. But I think Sammy's story right now screams world championship. I think he is the guy that needs to take it off him. So, I definitely, as much as I like your prediction and I am a fan of it, I would say that my guess would be it would be Jay and Sammy potentially at SummerSlam rather than Jay and Seth. Although I do like that idea because I do think the story going forward, I know it looks like CM Punk. I know it looks like Punk and Rollins. But I think the story going forward is going to be Seth and Roman. And I think they're going to bring, because I know they've already talked about it, Roman's predicted to come back around the Money in the Bank.
I think that's where we get the tag match, Billy. We get Punk and Roman
Mhm.
against Braun and Seth. I think
That's
that's where we get that tag.
that's where I do. And I think eventually you see Punk kind of break off from that. And then you see Rollins and Reigns, because I do believe that that is a WrestleMania one-on-one match. I do believe that you add a stipulation to it because of the depth of how serious those guys are. You know, I just think there's a lot of underlining factors that maybe they didn't get to, especially now that he's taken Paul. Excuse me.
Yeah, we got to get that one-on-one, like you said, and get Roman eventually to beat Seth. That's the story.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
agree. Now, with that, I guess we can kind of backtrack real quick because I
Yeah.
mentioned it to you earlier.
Hmm.
3 hours of SmackDown. What are we doing? Because we thought, oh, hey, we might get more call ups. Hey, we're going to get more talent used. And yeah, there have been more spotlight on the tag division. I will give them that.
Hmm.
I enjoyed what they did a couple weeks ago, even though it wasn't on Mania. I see why they moved it to SmackDown. I get it.
For sure.
But what is going on with SmackDown? I see Raw getting all the call ups, Raw getting all
Hmm.
the women. I hear Alexa Bliss is going to be back tonight,
Tonight. Yep.
potentially. I'm hearing
Yep.
Jeff Cobb is on his way.
Hmm.
What do
Yep.
you think about SmackDown and where we're headed? We got Fraxium, who I think is the best tag team in the world. What do
Agreed.
you think about SmackDown?
So I have a love-hate relationship with SmackDown, obviously, because it takes up my Friday nights, right? So I got a love-hate relationship. I am a human, I'm no different than anybody else. Uh, I have this love-hate relationship, man. Like it SmackDown. I think I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I was talking to him yesterday. He calls me every so often. We just kind of shoot the shit, right? He called me yesterday. He said, "Man, it reminds me of like the revamped version of ECW." And I had to like sit back and like really think about that. I was like, "Does it?" It's like that's kind of steep. But then I sat down and I thought about it, and I was like, "Well, obviously ECW is only like an hour long, 2 hours, whatever it was." Um, but when you think about like the talent that are on there, like some are amazing, and then some are like, "Well, what are they doing on the show?" You know what I mean? So we get guys like Aleister Black who are absolutely outstanding, and then it could be some random Joe Schmo coming out right after, and it's like, hold on, brother, what are we doing? We did not need to put this there. But I do understand that Road Dogg is trying to do his best with that show, right? He is the writer of Friday Night SmackDown, and knowing that they are going back to 2 hours at the end of this month does make me feel a lot better about the future, because like you talked about, the tag team division is so heavy there and it's so good. So that'll obviously be a main focus, maybe more than it is on Raw. You know what I mean? So we got that going for us. We obviously seen a tease at Aleister Black and Carmelo Hayes,
I
which,
think I just got a text that might be tonight. Sources.
what is it?
That might be tonight, by the way. That
Oh,
match.
puh.
That's what I'm hearing.
Geez.
I mean, I
Gee.
wanted it on Backlash. I thought we should have got 6 matches, but that's just me. But we can get into that in a second. But I'm
Yeah,
hearing
we'll
that
get
might be
into it.
tonight. Yeah.
If that is tonight, count me in. And if they're going to give me that on free TV, cool. I'm not against that. But again, you have guys like Alistair and Carmelo. You obviously have the stuff with Andrade, Humberto, and Angel. And then you have, what is it?
Ray Phoenix.
Ray Phoenix. Yes, exactly.
And
They're just,
I said, Billy, not to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
think about this. And a lot of people don't think about this. They, oh, well, what is Cena doing? Remember, Cena's a part-time champion. The
Yeah.
number one title on SmackDown is the US title, and we'll get into it. But them putting a rocket on Jacob Fatu is only going to elevate that title, and I think he should go on a Gunther-like reign with that U.S. title and bring it back like Gunther did the IC title.
I agree with you 1000%. I don't think there's a guy that should beat him right now because Jacob Fatu is somebody that they want to strap the rocket to. They want to send him into the next stratosphere. They want to make that guy. They're doing with Jacob Fatu exactly what they did with John Cena. If you look back at the history of John Cena, they're doing the exact same thing. He's a dog. You know,
Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. I love you, Solo.
No, bro, he is. He is like a legitimate dog. And that's what Cena was back in the day. Cena was a dog. That's what made him special. That's what made him different. You know, when he was rapping, he was aggressive. He was all of these things. Got Jacob walking around, I mean? Like, come on, man. Count me in for that. So, yes.
I told people, man, he was going to be your favorite Samoan before he came into the company. I said, I know you love Roman. I know you love Jay, but this brother is going to be a world champion.
If you watched him in MLW, if you watched him in what is it? Oh God, I can't even think of the company's name off the top of my head.
He was in House of Glory.
HOG, House of Glory. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look back at like the history of Jacob Fatu and you learn about him and you understand like I talk about this and I'm just gonna get real here for a second.
Yeah.
But, you know, we talk about like what is something that somebody has to connect with? Well, for me to connect with somebody, I need them to be personable, right? I need somebody to be a human and be no different than me, right? And Jacob Fatu is that. He's, you know, the background that he comes from. He lived a tough life. Like, dude, I can get behind that because I understand the reality of that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And, you know, that's what was so cool about Cena at the time. You know, so many people with the throwback jerseys and, you know, just living that life is what many people wanted. It was so easy to connect with him. So, I mean, you genuinely just have to you're just restarting the John Cena method over again. And maybe you do it a little bit differently. Maybe you don't hold them on a tight leash like they did Cena. You know, maybe you let him have a little more free reign and go do what he wants. But ultimately, Jacob Fatu is WWE's next guy. If we talk about a world after Roman, I think Jacob Fatu is somebody that you have to look at in propelling like guys like Braun Breaker, who are the future of the company, right? Jacob Fatu is going to be that propeller for them, the Carmelo Hayeses of the world, right? So SmackDown is as bad as it sucks sitting there for 3 hours, man. I just understand the longevity of the show and I understand where the potential is in it and knowing that there can be importance to it. Like, obviously, tonight we're getting Cena, right?
Yeah, he's on there tonight. Yep.
That'll be great because we just get to watch him get RKO'd again and he's going to just lay flat on the ground.
Settle like death, you know? Well, do you think I think Jacob Fatu retains. I think this will be the match
For
of the
sure.
weekend.
Yeah, I said that too, man. Jacob Fatu, hands down, is going to steal the show. He is going to win, no doubt. And I think you're going to see a little mishap from Solo.
Okay.
Solo obviously does something to potentially mess up Jacob Fatu's victory.
Let me throw something at you real quick.
Bring it on.
How about we put Jeff Cobb with Jacob Fatu? You like that?
You know, so many man. Oh. All right. Here's my thought process, right? I don't hate that, but
Okay.
Jacob Fatu doesn't need him.
Okay.
Jeff Cobb, I think we talked about it a little bit. I'd like to see him on Raw. I know there's a world where he, you know, goes to SmackDown. We talked about AJ Styles, Jeff Cobb, Roxanne Perez, and Finn Balor being a group.
Okay. Ooh,
so that's kind of the world that I live in when it comes to Jeff Cobb. Or you just let him go out there and be a singles guy. Let him go tear the house down. Jeff Cobb is obviously a fantastic wrestler. We've seen what he's done in New Japan Pro. We've seen what he did in AEW. We know what his limits are. We know where he's going to go. So, you know, it's how WWE chooses to introduce him that is going to be very telling on where we're going. But I don't hate that. I don't, because there is a world where I think that could work too.
Yeah, my group is Jacob Fatu, Jeff Cobb, and Bronson Reed when he comes back. Because think about it, Billy, and I could be wrong. Raw has a dominant heel faction. SmackDown don't have shit since the Bloodline left. Why not
This
give
is true.
it to maybe someone like that? That's just me.
That's very true. I haven't thought about it like that.
That's how I look at it. Because, like you said, when we were growing up, when they did the brand split, each show had a faction that
Yes,
ran the show. And like you
for
said,
sure.
evolution. You can throw out the Shield, you can throw out various factions, even when the Bloodline was hot. So I just look at it like that. If that's how they're going to book the show, because we know Triple H. He believes in putting things in the oven. He doesn't own a
Yeah.
microwave. So he's going to slow burn things. We might not get the Jacob and Solo match till SummerSlam. We
That's
don't know.
that's what my thought process was.
Right.
Especially being 2 nights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got Jacob winning. I agree with you on that. Let's go to the women.
Mhm.
Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. How do you feel about Becky Lynch heel turn? And how do you feel about WWE finally giving a live mic to a woman that's not a four horsewoman and letting her connect with the audience, like you just said? I love Lyra in NXT. I think
Mhm.
she's great. She's more than just a woo entrance. She can
Yes.
go
Yeah.
and cut a promo. I think this is going to be an underrated match. I do think Becky wins. How do you feel about this playing out, though?
So, all right. My heart tells me Lyra. My head tells me Becky. That's the easiest way to describe this, right? I think I would be silly not to pick Becky here to win this match, right? How do I feel about it? My good friend Dango, hates it. He hates Becky's heel turn. I'm actually a fan of it. And the reason why is because of some of the things that Becky has done since the heel turn. So I understand that people are like, oh, well, she just sounds like the man. She's just doing the same things that Becky does, da da da. One thing that I emphasized is that when you think about it, she needs a quote unquote villain arc. She turned heel, and there's no real reason for her to be like super mad. You know what I'm saying? But if she loses to Lyra, Lyra has that one thing over her. She has the Intercontinental Championship. She has the one thing that she can't grasp and she can't get a hold of. She's a four horsewoman. You just said it, right? They've done everything. And you're telling me that the one thing that she can't do is beat this new up-and-comer? Yeah, she beat her for the NXT title, but what's that? What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? I need this title because this title is more solidified because of where it's at. So I think if you have Lyra win, you create a villain arc. You create a real reason besides Bayley, right? So my thought process, I live in two worlds here. You could have Bayley come out, you could have her cost Becky, or you could have Bayley come out and maybe she accidentally cost Lyra to where you get the Becky and Bayley feud, but then eventually down the line you get the Lyra feud. There's a lot of things. I do think that they're going to set up a triple threat match, though, for Evolution. When Evolution is finally announced and for hopefully the month of July, that is one match that I think we'll see. I think we'll see Bayley, Becky, and Lyra for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And I think it'll be Lyra who doesn't have the title, and Becky will drop it back to Lyra there.
I completely can see your vision there, and nothing like these wrestling promoters, Billy, to galvanize and capitalize on our holidays and put more pro wrestling on there.
They love to do it. It's their favorite thing, and it'll never stop.
All right, so we got the US title, we got the Intercontinental title. Let's go to the IC title on the men's side since we did the women.
Yep.
How do you feel about Dominic winning the title? That was probably my favorite moment of the weekend, or one of them. I mean, that was a great moment. I mean, and I always say, great heels can be great baby faces if booked right. And you can see that if they want to turn this brother babyface,
They could
he
easily
would
do
be
it.
great. And think about where this man started with the jelly behind his ears, the short hair. I didn't really like what he was doing. Then he
Yeah.
turns heel, and he's been one of the best heels in the business. And he is really good. And his father has to be out of this world proud. I mean, he really is putting in the work, and I'm loving what he's doing. I don't think he loses the title already, right? Even though we love Penta.
Yeah, I love Penta, man, but I think there's a deeper story with Penta. I do think that, there is something, especially now with Chad Gable kind of getting involved and, potentially that being something, venging his brother for the loss of WrestleMania. I do think eventually we're going to get the Lucha Bros a little bit quicker than maybe we thought we would. But when it comes down to this match, I'm a Dom guy all through and through. Count me in for Dom. A lot of love for that guy. I posted a clip on YouTube. It went super dumb viral. So lot of love for that guy. Strictly based off like a personal standpoint. But he also is, like you said, the greatest heel in the business right now. And we talk about like heel and babyface and, and potentially him turning. And I question, do we have to turn him babyface, or is he already a babyface because of what he's doing? We went from a crowd booing him out of the room. You could not hear a word he was saying on a live microphone, to a producer telling him, hey, go back to the ring and go stand on the ropes because they're cheering for you much louder than maybe we anticipated.
Well, you'll get this reference because I'm a sports guy too outside of wrestling. That's
Yeah.
like Spencer Torkelson of your Tigers hitting a grand slam walk-off or something, and he getting a curtain call. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying?
So it was so cool.
I want to say, and I'm just going to sidetrack here for a moment, but I love what you guys do because you guys aren't just pro wrestling. You guys talk about all sports.
Yes, sir.
And I'm the big three, right? Baseball, football, basketball. Those are my three things. So I always love getting insight on sports. It's not always that I'm so locked into pro wrestling, but it is nice to step away and maybe go watch something else, right?
Yes.
I'm a little hurt about my Pistons right now.
Hey, man. We'll get you back on with the other guys. We'll talk some Lions because I do want to. We'll get into all that fun stuff because we would love to. Yeah,
for sure.
But yeah, the curtain call was beautiful, man. That was WrestleMania moment.
Yeah. Yes, and that's in that night in particular, it was missing that. You know what I mean? It really was. So I don't know, man. I'm happy with what Dom is doing right now. I don't think you necessarily have to turn him heel or turn him babyface. I think he just ultimately is going to be a babyface moving forward. And maybe you do some stuff where he keeps that same attitude, but more of a tweener style, right? Like he's going back and forth with it. Maybe one day he feuds with a guy, I don't know, who's a heel on like a Chad Gable, right? And he runs into Chad Gable and they get into an altercation. And then, you could still let Dom be Dom just while facing Chad Gable. You know what I'm saying? Who is ultimately a heel as well, right?
Yeah, I think what I'm booking is, they got that big Worlds Collide show coming up. I think we may get something with Grande Americano, maybe in Penta with like a mask versus mask match, maybe because they got to pull the mask off and it's got to be revealed to be him. So they didn't do it at Mania. They're not doing it at Backlash. We know, and I want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about the AAA merger, like Alberto Del Rio, El Vikingo? I mean, they got a lot of people they could be bringing in, and I think they're going to be brought in for the show, which is 30 minutes apart from one of their biggest shows of the year, Money in the Bank, by the way. So there you go.
So I'll tell you what, Worlds Collide will be great. The merger is amazing.
Okay.
Alberto Del Rio, I don't think will even show his face on WWE.
Or we call him Alberto Del Dipshit, but that's just us.
Alberto Del Dumbass. I mean, there's so many different ones, right? But yeah, I don't think he even shows up in WWE. I think that was just because he is the world champion. I do think they'll book him to lose that world championship. I think if you're WWE and you want this to be smart, the guy that you put that title on is Vikingo. And I think you let Vikingo go out there and you let him do his thing. Obviously, if anybody is, aware of Vikingo or if they know anything about him, I'm not sure how many people actually are tuned in to AAA, but that guy is beyond talented. He's wrestled Kenny Omega in AEW. Great match. And I think that is the guy that you put the title on going into Worlds Collide. And maybe you have him face me personally. I'd like to see some TNA guys get involved too, right? So maybe you have Trick Williams win the TNA World Championship. There's so many different ways that you could book this. You have Vikingo go up against somebody. Maybe you do Trick and Joe Hendry at Worlds Collide. Like, there's so many things that WWE can choose to do here, especially knowing that all these companies are under one umbrella, essentially. So I'm a huge fan of the AAA purchase.
Okay, had to slide that in there as we were making our way through. Let's get to the
For
match
sure.
that's, in my opinion, is the best built match on this card. Gunther and Pat McAfee, Billy.
Yes. Hands down, the best built match.
I say Gunther is top 3 wrestler in the world. I don't
For
give
sure.
a damn what company you like. I don't give a damn what company you don't like. He's one of the 3 best in the world.
Yeah,
And
I would fully agree.
and his promo on Monday, that wasn't Gunther, and you'll get this reference. That was Walter. That was Walter from NXT UK obliterating Pat McAfee, saying only the hands of God will be able to remove my hands from your neck come Saturday. I guess this is leading to Goldberg. A lot of people are saying, how do you see this playing out? And how do you feel about this match? Like, I think we agree, best built match.
Yeah, best built match, man. I'm a huge fan of the build, dude. I'll be quite honest with you. I love how WWE just brought, again, when you bleed real life into it, it helps. Like, you bleed the friendship of Michael Cole and Pat McAfee into this, and you let Gunther be the big bully here. It only makes for good storytelling, right? It can't fail. So I do believe that it does lead to Goldberg. As much as I hate it, I hate Goldberg. I cannot stand that man. I hate him with a burning passion. I mean, I'm no different than Bret Hart talking about Goldberg. I hate him. I think he sucks. But I do think that is what it's going to lead to, and hopefully Gunther beats the shit out of him and sends him packing finally, because I'm so tired of talking about him. He's up there with The Rock. He's right next to him. They're neck and neck right now. But with Pat and Gunther, I just think it is exciting. I think the way you book it is you have Gunther almost kind of do what he did with Jay, right? You have him go in there and undermine him. He's not, I know he's not doing it right now. He's not undermining him right now, but you have him do it in the match. And then what you do following is you kind of, in the middle of the match, kind of have him snap out of it. Eventually, finally beats the shit out of Pat. You kind of let Pat get his stuff in first. And then you ultimately have Gunther beat the shit out of him to pick up the victory. That's how I look at it.
Where do you do the match with Goldberg? In Saudi, SummerSlam? What do we know?
SummerSlam for sure. It's definitely going to be a SummerSlam match that they're going to want to have. It's a good ticket seller. Like, so many different things that they can do.
Speaking of tickets from SummerSlam, $40,000. Are WWE getting out of hand? Because what I hate is, Billy, we're hardworking individuals. We try to go to these shows, but every week, this is the largest gate in St. Louis. This is the largest gate in Dayton, Ohio. And then they don't want us to be critical. And then they show these B and C list celebrities 15 minutes of commercials, put 5 matches on a card when they could have put 2 or 3 minutes into some of these matches that were really good. Now, I don't want you to go Tony Khan and fucking put 30 matches on with no build, but 6 matches would have been cool. But how do you feel about the ticket prices and the celebrity aspect of WWE, especially since going to Netflix?
WWE has always been a bigger corporation. They've always been, kind of larger than life. They'll tell you they are, right? They'll tell you through and through. Hey, we're the biggest deal, this, that, whatever, right? It's tough because they're viewing themselves no different than maybe I view a football game at Ford Field, right? Or the Super Bowl at Ford Field, for instance, right? They're going in with the mindset like, hey, and the thing about it is they're not actually selling those tickets at that price. It's just when they get very limited, right? But even then, you kind of have to ask yourself, like, well, that's kind of this is a little foul, but that's kind of fucked up, isn't it? Like, you're gonna mark them up when they're low? Like, no, that's when more people want to get through the door. You know what I mean? That just means your company is hot and they're doing the right thing. And, there a moment ago, you talked about Triple H not wanting us to be critical. He very much is against the quote unquote IWC. And, I have my own feeling towards that because Triple H, he is one of the best, right? I grew up watching Triple H, this, that, and the third, but people undermine journalism. And it's shitty because without journalism, their product is nothing, truth be told. Because if you look at, society today, journalism is the way things move forward. It's the way news progresses. It is the way people find out about things. It is the way that people tune into things. So to say like, oh yeah, don't be critical. I know that's not word for word what he said, but when you think about it, it's like, man, like, no, you should want us to be critical about your product. You should want us sitting here talking about it. You should, because I'll use me for example. I have 5,000 something subscribers, right? Say for instance, 2 of those people never watched WWE a day in their life, and they hear me critiquing it, right? That is inclining 2 new people to go tune into your product. Because if you think that every single person on the planet knows about WWE, you're out of your mind, right? There's people in the world that don't know about the NFL. There's people that don't know about the NBA, the MLB, right? And to think that is the mindset, as a business, you should always be looking for the ways to find that next person, right? Because you should never be satisfied with just where you're at. If you look at, the MLB and the NBA and the NFL, the reason why a lot of those things got stagnant is because they stopped caring about the fan. They stopped putting in that effort for the fan. And the moment WWE does that, and as much as I love what they're doing, I do think you have to tell yourself, like, at one point, there is going to be people that walk away from what they're doing because it's no longer fan friendly, right? If me and my mom and my little brother and my little sister and my girlfriend, if we can't go to a show, what's the point? You're showing me this, but I'm never going to be able to experience it myself. So it's just it's a fine line that they walk on there, man. It's going to be interesting going forward because more reports will come out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like you said, because then they show the reaction streamers on their show reacting to their content.
Well, it's funny because I do the TikTok reactions, right? I do the TikTok reactions, and then come to find out, just personal experience.
Yeah.
At one point, I think it was last summer, I was doing them, and I remember I'm Con Man. I think Santy. I want to say.
Yeah.
All of them are getting striked and they're getting flagged. Wheezy Blonde being another one of them. They're all getting striked, and I'm looking at mine, and I'm not gonna lie, like it's not a low view count. I have 400,000 views. I have 800,000. Like I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, I got to pull this down. Yeah. I got to pull this down because it's gonna get flagged and they're gonna take away my account. Come to find out, I do think that they fixed that problem since, because I have been able to upload and I haven't had any problems with it. But overall, it's still one of those things that, like, you never know, right? WWE at any time could change their mind and be like, yeah, no, don't want this shit. Get it out. But like you said, then they go out and they show them, right? They put them on. They put them on their TV, show their reactions. Dude, I've had Paul Heyman post me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the line here? Do you like us or do you not?
Yeah. How did you feel about the releases, real quick? We don't have to touch on each one. Anyone that you were upset about?
Cora
or do you
Jade.
see maybe some of the... Okay.
I'm pissed about Cora Jade,
bro. And then they just put Julie in there like we didn't know she existed. Like, that was supposed to be Cora Jade. We know. The real ones know.
I know who the top person in NXT was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm not dumb.
Remember Shawn Michaels, and I'm a Sasha Banks mark. I'm not talking about Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. They called her, the next Sasha Banks. So to be from that, yeah, she had injuries, but come on now. She's only, what, 24?
Dude, she's young. Yeah. She's young as hell. Yeah. And it's like, I genuinely, like, I don't think WWE, I hate the word fumble. I do. I hate the word fumble because I think you can't fumble somebody. I think there's people can't fit, right? Sometimes there's not a good fit. I'm eating my words over the Cora Jade release because what the hell, you guys fumbled the hell out of her.
Yeah.
And I get it, injuries, but then, they do the stand and deliver thing and she walks out on Roxanne Perez and then nothing comes of that. Come on, dude. Come on. It made no sense. Cora Jade for me sucked. Gigi Dolan is another one that sucked. Obviously, you never want to see Braun Strowman go because he is good, but there also is a world where some of these people, like, they don't really have anything for them to do. So you kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, well, it is a business. These are businessmen. It does suck that people have lost their job. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we talk about it on our show quite often. The pro wrestling industry is so healthy.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, strong right now. Look at Indy Hartwell. She got released and then, she just signed with TNA and she's going to go do great things with them and she'll probably end up back on NXT. You know what I mean? So, like, it as bad as it is, we're in a very pro wrestling friendly world right now.
Especially with the money mark down in Jacksonville who pays for everyone. But with that being said, one last time, Billy, Randy Orton returns home to St. Louis to take on the last real champion, John Cena. For the first time ever, they are reversing of roles to a degree. And I believe they go back to like 2000, early 2000. So this is like a 20+ year rivalry looking at all the
I
matches.
think one of their first matches, was in 2006.
Yeah,
That might have been their first interaction.
Yeah. So, I mean, we knew this was probably going to happen. Roles are reversed. How do you see it playing out, and where does Cena kind of go from here? Because I have my thoughts, but I want to hear from you.
So, I obviously, okay, I have John Cena winning. I want to preface that. I do have Cena winning. I do think if you were to do it the right way and we just bounce this heel turn, you give it to Randy, right? I'm a huge fan, and I just have to say I didn't grow up in the Roman Reigns era. I grew up in the John Cena era. So I grew up in the world of John Cena and Randy Orton, right? So seeing this as a fan, right? And I'll just take YouTube aside, put that to the side. As a fan, dude, I'm so excited, to get the roles reversed, get to see Randy going out there giving the high fives rather than Cena. And Cena's walking out there, title behind his shoulder, all these different things. That to me is beyond exciting. When I think about the match, I don't think it'll be anything to go home about. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to blow people out of the water. I think these are two guys that have the WWE product style of wrestling that are just going to go out, give you, vintage Orton or vintage Cena, right? That's what they're going to do. But the cool part about it is that we do get to see it one last time. This is a world where we thought that it would never happen again because we thought we were so far apart from it, right? We didn't think like it ever made sense. And then you look at it, I talked about it in a video. I do think John Cena wins because I do think John Cena is going to go on his farewell tour for real against his greatest rivals. And the other greatest rival to Randy Orton and CM Punk, or excuse me, Randy Orton and John Cena is CM Punk, right? I think eventually we fall into a line of we're going to get John Cena and CM Punk. And I think if WWE really wants to do a callback, you do it at Money in the Bank, right? Their 2011 match that was obviously outstanding. So I'm excited for this. I know what it's going to be. I'm aware. WWE can't fool me. I promise you I could read the room. But I do like the idea of it potentially being, CM Punk and John Cena. That's what I'm looking forward to if we're going to have Cena win here.
So with that, Cena's next appearance after Backlash, I believe, is Saturday night's main event in Tampa. That's going to be a crazy weekend. We got NXT, AEW, Double or Nothing, Saturday night's main event. I think that is where something will be set up because I don't think he'll be wrestling on that show, obviously.
Nope.
So someone will confront him. Like you said, could it be Punk? Could it be Cody? I think that is going to be a big
I think the reason why they're doing it at Saturday night's main event is for it to be Punk.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be my guess here.
I like it. I think that will close the show because I think that will be the biggest angle there.
Yes, I agree.
All right. I think that's pretty much what we got on WWE. You want to go down to Jacksonville real quick and
let's go to Jacksonville, man. Let's go to Jacksonville.
You know, when AEW first started, Billy, I was over the moon. It was fantastic. It was a breath of fresh air. You know, they talk about the feeling, they talk about where the best wrestle. But not
Yeah.
only did they have wrestling, they had long-term booking, stories that got you interested, captivated, wanted you to stop what you were doing and rush home on Wednesday nights to watch Dynamite and pay $50 for a pay-per-view every few months.
Mm-hmm.
Cody leaves, Punk leaves.
Yep.
He buys Ring of Honor. He signs everybody under the sun. He's putting himself as CEO, GM, head
Mm-hmm.
of writing, head of
Yep.
creative, all of these things on his press releases.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Khan is in control, but he is steering the ship into the ground. What is going on in AEW? Obviously, this isn't just started this year, but what
No.
is AEW doing? We're going into one of their biggest shows of the year. They only have 2 matches announced, and the 2 matches are from tournament finals. No storylines going into it.
I gave up on AEW, if I'm being quite honest. I did. It's so tough because I was a huge AEW supporter. I just started doing this pro wrestling stuff about a year ago, like maybe a year and a half. Um, but prior to that, me and Anko, like, we're real life friends. Like, we have like a personal relationship outside of what we do here.
Man,
Um, so we used to talk about it all the time. And Anko, back in 2020, he used to tell me all the time. He'd be like, "Man, like, you know, nobody sees it yet, but eventually they're going to start to see the cracks." I think it was right around the time Cody left that Ango had discussed with me, what was going to take place. And I was so naive at the time, especially because Punk was coming back, right? So when Punk came back, I was really naive about it. I'm a huge Punk guy. I tell people I'm not a WWE or an AEW fan. I'm a Punk fan. So I just go where that guy goes. And all right, I'm with it.
yes.
But once he came back, I was like, oh man, like, this company can do no wrong. They bring in Bryan Danielson, they bring in Adam Cole. Oh my God, this place is stacked. You know what I'm saying? And then, you get into the later years, 2023, 2024, and you start to finally see those cracks. You see the brawl out situation, you see the Jack Perry situation, and you kind of start to feel like, oh shit, is Tony like actually a good boss, or is he just like, when they called it All Friends Wrestling, were they serious? So you start to see all those cracks and you start to see all those lines that are being drawn. And I'm looking and I'm like, man, like, this is no good, right? Like, we got to do something here. And then you just start to see the stories just kind of go further and further away from the plot. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, this makes no fucking sense. I think it was 2024. That's when I really was out of it. I was like, man. And I think at the time, I think maybe Swerve was the champion, Swerve or Samoa Joe, one of the two.
And they have hit on a few. Swerve,
They have, for
Tony
sure.
Storm. They've had some.
Yeah.
Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world to me. I mean, they got
Mhm.
some guys, but you can only wrestle but so much. We've seen all of the great matches. In 2025, we want stories that are going to captivate us and make us want to watch
Well,
week to week.
that's really funny you say that, because I actually made a video yesterday talking about the comments that Will Ospreay had about him being the best pro wrestler. And I told my audience, I said, I'm here to get your guys' takes, but I really am interested to give mine for a second and tell you, like, when saying the best pro wrestler in the world, you have to ask yourself, what do people care about? Because for some people, it is just that. It is just pro wrestling. Some people genuinely do feel like that. But I know for me personally, if I'm giving and shooting at my own take, it's that I need to be captivated by a story. I want to be entertained. I want to know what that's like. You know what I'm saying? I want to really feel that. You know what I'm saying? And Will Ospreay, as great as he does bring a feeling after about 30 minutes of a pro wrestling match. That's when he gets me off my feet. Or should I be off my feet immediately? Right? Because a story will get me off my feet immediately.
I guarantee you right now, you put him in WWE, he's telling stories because he can cut
Yes.
promos. He can tell a story, but that is the man in charge not worrying about telling a story. They had a good promo on Wednesday, him and Hangman. I love
Man,
Hangman.
amazing.
He
Amazing.
great. But What are we doing to follow up with it? Oh, we go straight into a squash match. We go straight into some stuff that doesn't make sense.
Well, that's the problem. That's AEW's biggest problem is that they follow up with stupid shit, and it's like, bro, that made no fucking sense. Like, why'd you
Swerve
do
gets
that?
pinned by one of the Jackson brothers. Like, why?
You didn't need to do that. You had no reason to do that, but they chose to. You know, you got Ricochet out on Collision pulling fucking Zach Gowen's legs off, who's not even signed to the
I was over
company.
here going off last night.
Dude, it makes no sense, bro. What
And
are we doing?
Ricochet's heel turn was the best thing we've seen from Ricochet since NXT, and they fumbled that.
Yep, I agree, man. I really do. But
And,
yeah,
and I don't know, man. I don't know.
AEW, they live in their own little bubble. I stopped covering them really just because it is tough to watch, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, but there's always a world that they can get my trust back if Tony just fixes some of those problems there.
I think he's lost the trust. I do.
Yes, he's
He
lost
has,
mine for sure.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to watch.
I just look at the videos that you can put out the content. It's just no one cares. Pay-per-views. I mean, it's no interest. The same sickos that they cater to are going to be the only ones watching. And in 5 years, when their deal is up and they die, unfortunately, it's going to be. Saw it coming.
So I don't think AEW will ever die. I don't.
Okay.
I think as long as Tony Khan has money, he'll fund it. Right? It's his passion project. It'll only die if Tony wants it to die. If Tony comes to light and is like, oh man, like this is bad, maybe. But the thing about it is, dude, I'll be honest with you. I don't want AEW to die. I never have. I want them to succeed. I want them to go further, right? I want to see them win because especially what they did for pro wrestling. Again, as a CM Punk fan, I'm very biased to what AEW did. They brought CM Punk back to pro wrestling, and I can't be naive to that. I never thought I was going to see that guy wrestle again. You know what I mean? So it's a tough topic, right? Because Tony fucking sucks. But God forbid, dude, like just tell a good story and you can change that problem.
It's like 2019 WWE with Vince.
That's what it is.
A bunch of yes men.
They're doing roll-up pins. I know what this shit is. I've seen this before.
Eliminator matches. Like, what are we doing?
Right. Exactly.
Well, Billy, we could do this all day, but I know you got another show coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to be live over on my stuff.
Yeah, let the people know how to keep up with you and what you got planned this weekend for Backlash, man.
Well, I'm going to be live in 48 minutes.
Yes.
For the SmackDown watch along. So I'm going to go over there, do that. And then tomorrow I'll be live by myself. Excuse me, not alongside. I'll be live for the Backlash watch along. And we're going to be doing that. And we're just going to be posting clips over on TikTok. So you guys can find me on YouTube and TikTok at BillyTKO. If you guys want, definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button, man. Every time they hit the subscribe button, I tell them, I say, we go to a different stratosphere because that's where we're trying to go, man. We're trying to go to a different stratosphere. We're trying to really knock this stuff out of the park. Like my good friend said right here, we are real life human beings. We live real lives, and we got real jobs, and we got things we got to do. But at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to do. And Byron, I just have to say, thank you so much for bringing me. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. This has been an absolute pleasure. Excuse me, and I'm super appreciative of the Flex Zone podcast. So definitely subscribe, guys.
Billy, we are going to do this again. This won't be the last time. I appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work. I'm going to let you go ahead. I'll wrap up. Shout out to Billy. Get to that link and hit that subscribe button. He'll be live for SmackDown. So go watch SmackDown with him, as we'll be live also. And he'll be live for Backlash. Once again, Billy, thank you again, my man.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I'll text you in a little bit. I'll text you later.
Yeah, text me.
Please, man. Yes, sir. Have a great show, man. Thank you. Yes, sir. One more time. Billy TKO, the man, the myth, the legend. We got to give it up for him. Give him a big round of applause as we get ready to get out of here. Make sure you guys go ahead to the link in. Go ahead to the link in the chat. Subscribe to Billy's channel. Let him know what you're looking forward to tonight on SmackDown and join him tomorrow for Backlash. We're getting ready to get out of here as we do have Friday Night SmackDown getting ready to start in less than an hour. We are ready. The Go Home Show. It will be on tonight. We got John Cena returning back. Him and Randy Orton one last time from Dayton, Ohio. Before we get the match tomorrow, we have Aleister Black and Carmelo Hayes, Jay Cargill and Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss might be there, and others. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. Go subscribe to Billy. We'll have him back on for sure. We'll talk some more other sports as well about his Lions, his Pistons, and his Tigers. Shout out to him. Shout out to Billy. Go subscribe to his channel as well. Shout out to Ango Show. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you in about less than an hour for SmackDown. And we appreciate you watching here on the Flex Zone Podcast, your home for professional wrestling, and the only place giving you sports how you want it, when you need it. God's favorite host. I'll see you in a few for Friday Night SmackDown, the go-home show, as we head into Backlash tomorrow.